This is the Lacrosse Classified podcast on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network, your go-to source for all things NLL and indoor lacrosse. Each week, we'll cover the hottest storylines and talk to the biggest names in the sport. Now, let's talk some lacrosse.
All right, lacrosse fans, it's time to take your seats. Eyes up front, grab your pens and paper. It's time for Lax Class, episode number 44, coming at you right now here on the Lacrosse All-Stars Podcast Network, where we grow the game one podcast at a time. If you don't know by now, I'm about to tell you, it's Jake Elliott, Evan Schemenauer back with you. And Evan, welcome back to the podcast. Your episode number 44, man.
Time keeps ticking away, doesn't it? Interesting year. We're going to be back to the NLL season not too soon, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, what do we got? Like another 8-9 weeks, and we've rocked the whole calendar, man. Without a week off, mind you. So hope you guys appreciate that. We're happy to be here. We got a great program lined up for you today. We got the voice of the Mann Cup, the Vjctoria Shamrocks, and he'll be part of the NLL Draft coming up next week from Philadelphia. One Theodore Edward Teddy Jenner coming up on the program in about 15-20 minutes from now. His real name is Edward. I don't know if most people know that, Evan. I just put it out there right now. It's not
you
actually,
and I know that.
Yeah, it's not actually Teddy. It's Edward Jenner. So when things get serious with me and Teddy, the name Edward usually comes out. So Teddy will join us in about 20 minutes' time, and then we're going to have maybe the most interesting man in lacrosse join the program. He is a member of Team Canada, the Buffalo Bandits, and also the Vjctoria Shamrocks, who I mentioned are playing in the Mann Cup right now. And the man also lives in a van down by the river. It's Steve Priolo coming up.
The Chris Farley reference.
Yeah. It's coming up in about half an hour. I can't wait to talk to Steve Priolo. I've never had a conversation with him before, but just seeing his stuff on social media and some of the interviews he's done, real interesting dude, and look forward to that convo in about half an hour from now.
Yeah, this whole van experience is something else. He actually had a blog going on about it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like he's had it for a while.
Neat little things. And for those that don't know the background behind this, a couple of years ago, he was down playing in Vjctoria, and rather than going up in a hotel, he bought a surplus police van and fitted it with a small kitchen, a closet, a double-sized bed. So he and his wife live in this thing all summer. They travel from beach to beach, and
they go up the mountains, they go hiking,
yeah.
And they just they tool around in the van, man. It's pretty cool stuff. I don't know if I could pull that off, but if you're kind of an adventure thrill seeker like Steve Priolo, like the man will go walk like 5 miles on game day up a mountain before he goes to play a lacrosse game. It's wild stuff. So we'll look forward to that. Teddy Jenner, Steve Priolo. What else, Evan? How was the weekend?
Oh, can't complain. A couple of lacrosse games. The Saturday night one was a heck of a thriller. So
yes,
a good time.
I actually had the pleasure to take that one in person over there on Fantasy Island with our good buddy Jim there in box number 9. Great time, Jim. Excellent host, I must say. If you've never had the opportunity to get over to Vjctoria, and if you know Jim, I mean, the door is always open when it comes to him, but it was an amazing time. 24 hours just kind of whizzed by, but it was a great time over there in Vjctoria at the Mann Cup. The game went to overtime. Can't ask for much more than that.
No, and especially in a series where, we weren't certain how Vjctoria was going to match up against the superstars of the Peterborough Lakers, but these young guys have come out to play.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. Like I just so you know, Evan, I picked Vjctoria in game 1, and we'll talk about this a little later in who you got coming up. But Peterborough leading 2-1 right now, but this has been, I got to admit, way closer than I thought it was going to be. Like I honestly keep waiting for Pete Dubenski to come back to earth. And the kid just keeps going. Like he's proving so many people wrong in it. And I just keep waiting for it to come to an end, and it just hasn't yet. So we'll talk about Pete Dubenski. We'll talk about the Mann Cup. Why don't we do that now, Evan? Let's get into our weekly Lex Class report cards here, presented by Stampede Tack in Western, where you know by now they're more than just a boot store. They carry a wide range of hats as well. Speaking of hats, we're going to give another one away coming up in the show as well, so make sure you stay tuned to that. But more than just cowboy hats there at Stampede Tack in Western, where, Evan, they got hats for the sun, the wind, the rain, camping, fishing, hiking, you name it. Every type of hat you can think of, find them at stampede.ca. Shopping online is still shopping local out there in Cloverdale since 1967. Evan, where are we going here? Are we going A to F? We going F to A? Do you want to jump around? What do you want to do here?
Let's, because we started the conversation with the Shamrocks, right? Let's start with the A. Keep that conversation going.
I agree. First and foremost, I want to give an A out to, and this may rub some of our American listeners the wrong way here a little bit, Evan, but I don't care, because one, Bianca Andreescu, the 19-year-old phenom female tennis player, winning the first ever Grand Slam singles title for our country over the weekend, beating the GOAT in Serena Williams. I know this is a lacrosse podcast, but this is massive news here for our country, Evan. And Bianca Andreescu is getting an A this week. We're going to split the A, but she's getting one. She's getting one.
No question she's getting the A, and she's definitely winning the Lou Marsh Trophy for the top Canadian athlete this year. To put this in perspective, we've got this lacrosse chat group, which we talk lacrosse, 20 hours of the day on this thing. On Saturday, the Mann Cup final, Game 2 is happening. PLL 1 versus 2 game is happening. And all we talk about all day is Bianca. That's how huge this is.
Yeah.
We've won, Daniel Nestor's won, about a dozen doubles titles,
sure.
A few others have won doubles titles. The Canadians have had this thing in tennis for a long time of a lot of these guys are just about to get to the top, but never got there. And Bianca just thrashed Serena.
Steamroll.
Absolutely. Serena was breaking down because she didn't know how to handle it. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, Raonic and Bouchard had made it to a final before, but had never won. And Bianca, just 19 years old, wins the first Grand Slam in Canadian tennis history in the singles competition. So she's getting A. The other A is going out just to the Mann Cup being played in Vjctoria and the Q Center in general and the atmosphere over there in Vic for the Mann Cup. And you just, you walk around, you don't even have to be all that near the arena, and people know why you're there. And the place is packed, and it's a great place to go. It's almost the perfect size to go watch a lacrosse game, and just the whole atmosphere inside the Q Center. But with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about some unruly fans coming up. But it's not great for mainlanders, obviously, Evan. Everybody wants to see the Mann Cup be played on the mainland that lives on the mainland. But if it's going to be somewhere that's not on the mainland, Vjctoria is a great spot to have it because they sell the building out. They're behind their team 100% there. And as far as an Eastern team, it's a really tough place to go and try and win.
Yeah, and Vjctoria, well, let's put it this way, for those that don't know it, they literally out-attendance everybody else combined in that league.
Pretty close.
There's a lot. Yeah. There's just that much support for it there. So when the Mann Cup comes around, it's like the city shuts down almost for this event, and that's how much support there's behind it. Just hearing the crowd, and I think it's great that they keep it in the building they're in rather than going to Save On where they could have 7,000 seats, because that enclosed stadium just keeps the noise going and keeps the atmosphere rocking in there.
Yeah, and obviously a pretty big First Nations Indigenous contingent out there as well, and the drums were going, and it's just fantastic. Like I said, I was over there on Saturday in Box 9 and really enjoyed my experience. The other thing I enjoyed is watching Sean Evans play lacrosse here, Evan. He's 1 point away now, I believe, after last night's game of passing John Grant Jr. for all-time Mann Cup scoring into second place behind John Tavares, and I don't think anyone's catching JT, but what Sean Evans has been able to accomplish over his career has been just remarkable, Evan. To do it at the size that he has done it at and playing in the shadow of his big brother Scott, and year after year after year, this guy just wins. It's what he does. And in Game 2, he literally put that team on his back. They were down 9-6 in that game and scored a natural hat trick in the third period in about a 5-minute span and got that team into overtime as Peterborough goes on to win that game 12-10 in Game 2. But without Sean Evans, and you're looking around at these guys playing this game here, Evan, and I said it last night on Twitter, like, I can literally see almost a handful of guys on each roster that are playing in this series really banged up. Like, they're hurt, and they're still gutting it out there, and I don't know how hurt Evans is, but he's really taken on the load for the Lakers to pick up the slack from a couple other guys that just can't get it done right now, and that's the type of player that Sean Evans is.
Yeah, and of course he eats, sleeps, and breathes Peterborough lacrosse. But to get to this record, it goes.
You got to be there.
How many times Peterborough's there? Because you only get 25, 30 points, even if you're a top scorer in a Mann Cup.
30 is good. 30 is really good.
Yeah. So, because you only have 5-6 games in a normal one to try and rack up points. Yeah, that third period effort, and I'm not certain what Vjctoria was doing themselves, because when Sean Evans has got the ball 20, 25 feet on, dead center in front of the net and nobody's on him,
he's got to score.
You got to close that off.
Yeah.
But, just an absolute. Because Mark Matthews was gone for the last 2 periods of that game.
Yeah, he played in Game 3, but did not look right in Game 2. But he did play in Game 3, looked a little better, had a goal in that game. But literally, like, Sean Evans has more assists in the Mann Cup than Gary Gate has points. That gives you an indication on how well and how many times Sean Evans has played in the Mann Cup. And a guy that's playing in his first Mann Cup we're going to split the B's here as well, Evan, because we got to give out some accolades, is Pete Dubenski. And we talked about Dubinsky and how he's kind of playing above his pay grade here. He's facing upwards of 70 shots a night. You did the math shockingly, Evan, last night about the numbers for Pete Dubenski. You want to lay those out for the fans? I think it was like an 863 save percentage, goals against of just over 8. And
8-5 something. Yeah, it's and he's faced 197 shots.
And he's down in the series. And he's
down in the series. In Game 1, even though Vjctoria won 13-6, he faced around 70 shots in that game.
Yeah,
and really was the catalyst that got Vjctoria to where they were. We had this debate for some time over the course of the series Dubinsky has been a practice roster goaltender for the Saskatchewan Rush the last couple of years. And the only playing time he's got is a few garbage time minutes here and there when he's been a backup when somebody's been injured. So he hasn't had the chance to play. Mm-hmm. And the way he's playing now, and the key is he's got the mobility to be an NLL goaltender. It's not like some of these guys who rely on the bigger stick and the smaller net to be a great CLA goaltender. But where is there a spot for him that he is a backup? There's not a spot for him to be a starter, but where can he be a backup? And I think there's some teams that are going to take a serious look at him. Maybe New York.
Listen, Evan, you're dead set on Adam Shute being the backup in Saskatchewan, and I like Shooter a lot. What worries me in that situation there is that Adam Shute has done nothing to improve his game over the summer. Like, he's not a guy that lives in the gym. He hasn't played any summer lacrosse. Here's Pete Dubenski, who's thrust himself into a starting role and is now playing in the Mann Cup and playing the best lacrosse that he's ever played, there's not a lot that you can say to convince me that Derek Keenan would not make a switch. Tyler Carlson was one of the most beloved players on that team, as you know, and he was cast aside for Adam Shute because he thought he was an upgrade in net. So I don't know what's stopping me from believing that if Derek Keenan thinks that Pete Dubenski is playing better goal than Adam Shute coming into training camp and through the exhibition, why he wouldn't make that switch right there.
But the key is that because Dubinsky was a practice roster player, he is a free agent.
Sure he is.
So does he give it another go in Saskatchewan where, at least he's going to get a reasonable shot, or does he go somewhere else where maybe he has a better chance of getting that number 2 spot?
Well, you tell me where the better chance is, Evan, because I don't see it. I don't see it.
There's a few options. Calgary's hung on to Tyler Richards for a few years.
Just gonna say
that's a possibility. Halifax is a possibility.
Yeah, but he's not. Pete Dubinsky doesn't strike me as a guy that's going completely across the country to go play lacrosse as a backup goaltender. I don't see it. I don't see it.
If you want the dream, you're going to have to do it. Because keep in mind the pay difference between being a practice roster player and being a backup is difference about
and I don't know if that's
about 16,000.
I don't know if that's a concern for him or not either.
The other team that's got to be on the top of the list right now is New York, because we don't know what the status of Angus Goodleaf is.
Yeah.
And if he can't get medically cleared, they're going to need somebody.
Yeah, good point. Good point. We'll see how it plays out. I think, if somebody doesn't sign Pete Dubinsky, they're nuts. They're absolutely nuts. He's sitting there dangling out there as a free agent. I don't know what teams are waiting for. Let's move along here, Evan. We got to get to our guests here coming up. We're done A, we're done B. Let's move to C. And C, man, we talked about that, I don't know if it was last week or a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a couple of weeks ago in webcasting and the issues that can happen with webcasting. And another nightmare happening at the worst possible time for Game 1 of the Mann Cup. And nobody could watch the game. And a lot of frustrated fans out there on Twitter with some nasty comments, demanding refunds and all the rest of it. I think you were in that mix as well, Evan, and fair enough.
Yes, I was.
Fair enough. So, again, here we go. And listen, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was like a hurricane or something happening back east, tornado. I don't know what it was. But the point being, there are so many things that can happen that can screw up a webcast. And from what I understand, one of the servers back east completely went off the grid. I don't know if it was weather-related or what happened, but it went down, and people couldn't watch the game. Now, where the issue comes in for you and many others, and for me, myself as well, is that there was no communication from the company to its customers about what was going on. And I know the priority for when something like this happens is to get the stream back up as quick as possible. That's priority number one. I get that. But don't tell me that you can't take 60 seconds, a minute and a half or whatever to thumb out a tweet and say, hey, people, we apologize for the technical difficulties. This is the problem. This is what we're doing to rectify that situation, and we hope to be back up and running as soon as possible. And at least you tell people what's happening, and they can calm down a little bit. Like, it sucks that you can't watch the game. Get it. But have a little communication here on what is going on so people don't freak out.
Here's my issue. I touched on this earlier in a previous podcast. It was the Burnaby, Nanaimo game, winners in, losers out. I go and buy the game. I can't get on. I'm trying to contact them. I don't even get as much of a response, period. Didn't even get a refund on the game, and that was already frustrating enough. So when you get this situation happening and you're trying to get a hold of them, and I checked my system out, and I had all the tests that they required done, and my end's working fine. There's a problem here. And I think part of it too has to do with setup. When you look at the list of requirements you have to go through to get it to work, it's a little too convoluted. It should be a little simpler. But clearly, you got a Peterborough crowd who have never used this system or have not used it at least in 2 years. Yeah, they're going to be frustrated when absolutely nobody in Peterborough is getting this game. Luckily, they gave Game 2 away for free.
Which was the right thing to do. And
most of the people that bought Game 1 have a credit now to get a future game back.
Which is also the right thing to do.
Right. But we got to be better. I mean, this is our national showcase in this sport.
Yeah.
And when nobody can see it, it's a problem.
Well, again, it sometimes it's not on the company on why people can't see things. There's a lot of extenuating factors that can go in to screw up a webcast. And sometimes it's not on the company, it's not on the customer, it's on Mother Nature for knocking out a power pole or whatever the case is. So, again, people need to just take a step back, gather themselves, but it's on the company to have a little bit of communication on what is going on so people are in the know. It's not that difficult of a thing to do. Take the 2 minutes, bang out a tweet so people don't freak out. So, again, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We'll talk about it again. Webcasting, be better. Evan, and I talked about the atmosphere in the Mann Cup in Vjctoria, which was phenomenal, and I loved it, except for a few unruly fans who can't manage to cheer for their team or cheer against the other team without using profanity. And I always have a huge issue with this, Evan. I know you pay your money and you're entitled to your opinion and to yell and scream and cheer and clap and whatever else. But when you start dropping F-bombs and screaming obscenities and there's kids in the building, for Pete's sake. Like, control yourself here, people. You don't need to start swearing inside a public arena, whether it be at the other team or the refs or whatever. You can cheer and yell and say all sorts of things without dropping F-bombs and S-bombs and whatever else. I mean, there's young children within earshot of you, and I don't understand how people can't control themselves a little bit better than that.
Well, I mean, I'm as guilty as some of those people the odd time. Although shouting at players with F-bombs, that doesn't happen on my end.
Well, that's the other thing before you get started here, Evan, is that, you know, these fans that are yelling obscenities at players, like, give your head a shake. These guys are elite athletes, and you could never do what they're doing. And you're like, I just have some respect for what these guys are doing is where I'm going with this. Well,
I mean, the number one thing that I would actually shout at an opponent for is a dive. If you dive,
yeah,
I'm going to call you out on it every time. Now, some of the NLL teams, the Rush do this. I know the Roughnecks do this. They're starting to have family sections where there's no alcohol allowed in the section.
Which is usually a contributing factor.
Yeah, and they're very tight on the types of things that can be said. And, you know, I think it's a better way for them to control it, because they're not going to be able to control thousands of people from some of them dropping F-bombs.
No, probably not. Probably not. But my point is, just be better. Be better than that, people. You can yell out, "Hey, Matthews, you suck," or whatever, or "You missed that pass, haha." But you don't need to drop an F-bomb in there with it. Like, I just don't do it. Like, you wouldn't do that at your job, or, you know, if you're at the family dinner table or whatever. Like, I don't know why you feel like it's okay to do that in a public setting at a sporting event. It doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, it's a D, is what it is, Evan.
Culture, yeah.
It's a
the culture. Is it going to change? Probably not.
Well, I'm here to spark the change, Evan. Let's start here at Lacrosse Class and start the change. Be better in the stands, people. Be better. All right, Evan. We're down to F, and man, like, I caught wind of this like probably close to a week ago. Like, literally the day after we recorded, we saw this. For people that don't know, this picture has been circulating around around social media of the President's Cup sitting in a swimming pool, like there's nobody around. There's the President's Cup swimming in the middle of a pool by itself, and the caption above it, washing off the scum from years gone by. For one, okay. I gotta stay under control here, Evan. Number one, the President's Cup is made of wood. Okay, so right away, the thing is going to be completely damaged. Now, I've heard so many different things about this. This happened in Kahnawake. It's nothing to do with the champions. Well, I don't know, because this is so many different things. I've heard that this picture isn't even new. I've heard Six Nations has nothing to do with this. This isn't affiliated with them. My question is, how does the President's Cup end up in the hands of somebody that's willing to do this if it's nothing to do with you guys? But the guy that posted this, John Kane, says he didn't take the picture. He didn't post this up, but he was the one that put it out on social media. And like, I don't know who exactly to give the F to here, Evan, but the fact that the President's Cup made, and I know, I've been around, I've seen the parties. Things happen when you win a championship. People go crazy. Lots of things. The Mann Cup's been in a fire. All sorts of, guys are doing things with the cup and having a good time. I get all that. But for me, this seems like it's next level. It's sitting in a pool. There's nobody else around. And it's the caption, I think, that gets me more than anything, Evan. Washing off the scum. Yeah. That's what bothers me more. What scum? You're the person that is scum, whoever is taking this picture and posting this up. What scum are you washing off? Is it the Six Nations scum who just won? Is it the 3-time champion St. Albert Miners that you're trying to watch? That might be the classiest lacrosse team I've ever seen. And you want to wash off the scum? Whether this picture is new, whether it's old, who posted it up, I don't even care anymore. It's garbage. The President's Cup is made of wood. It's going to cost thousands of dollars to repair this thing. Go ahead and do all sorts of stuff with it, but wrecking it is not one of them. I'm all for having a good time and celebrating, Evan, but this was next level. And then the comment, washing off the scum, that crossed the line.
That's why John Kane gets the F. It's the comment that washing off. Let's put it this way. Did any of those previous 4 champions win this cup in any controversy or anything illegal or anything like that? No. They won it fair and square. You may not like them. That's fine. But they're the champs. So there's no scum to be washed off. The comment on its own gets the F. Now, as for the trophy, I've seen all kinds of posts there saying, well, the Mann Cup ended up in the ocean a couple of years ago. Right. It's a rubber and metal trophy, right? You might worry about some corrosion on the metal, but that's about it. Should it ended up in the ocean? Probably not. Let's put it this way. One of the Mann Cups was destroyed in a bonfire. So, that's happened before, but you got to give your head a shake. It's a wooden trophy. It's not like it's dead obvious. It's a wooden trophy. And
the fact that somebody
throw it in the water.
The fact that somebody took the time to not only throw it in the water, but then have nobody else around, like it's a empty pool deck essentially, and then to take the time to get it in the middle of the pool, and then take the picture and then post that up online, like that's intentional and premeditated, and I don't get it. Again, have a party. Get crazy. Go wild. keep it off of social media for one. And if you're going to post stuff up on social media, to do that and then to say that, like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't even wrap my head around the thought process there to do something like that. So whether you took the pick or not, John Kane, your name's associated with it. I'm sorry, man. I'm not even sorry. You get the F. You get the F. Don't be stupid. Okay, Evan, that was a long Stampede Tack and Western Wear report card session, better part of a half an hour. We got through it, and it's time to get to some guests. On the other side, it's Teddy Jenner, who will be at the NLL Draft coming up next week. He's at the Mann Cup right now. We're going to talk about it all next here on Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Mark Matthews of Team Canada, Saskatchewan Rush, and the Peterborough Lakers. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on Lax All-Stars, growing the game one podcast at a time.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified. You just heard it there from the mailman, Mark Matthews. Growing the game one podcast at a time is what we do here at Lax Class. Jake Elliott, Evan Schemenauer with you, and now joined by the voice of the Vjctoria Shamrocks, the voice of the Mann Cup, the voice of the Colorado Mammoth, and also a member of the NLL Draft broadcast from Philadelphia next week. It's Edward Jenner. Teddy, thanks for doing this.
Gentlemen, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you back, man. How's the voice holding up?
Not bad, actually. It's a lot of tea, a lot of sleep, and a lot of water. But the Mann Cup's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm looking forward to Game 4 tonight and Game 5 on Wednesday, and then a day off, hopefully Thursday, to get ready for Friday, Saturday.
And then how's your shoulders carrying your old coach and Walt Christensen on the broadcast?
You know what? Wally's been great. He kind of had a little bit of a slow upbringing in that first game. He was a little nervous, a little shy, didn't know when to talk, didn't know how long to talk, but he's really settled into a nice little groove, and it's been great. He brings a good dynamic. He's an incredibly smart lacrosse mind. So it's been fun to have him beside me and talk some old war stories.
We talked off the top of the podcast about Pete Dubenski, and the questions coming into the series of can he match up against the likes of Poole and Vince. Now, of course, we haven't seen Vince. He's still waiting the arrival of his child. But Dubinsky has now faced 197 shots in 3 games, and it's 7 games in 9 days. Is he going to be able to keep it up with the amount of rubber he's seeing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Evan. I was thinking that the other night. And, you know, if anybody can do it the way Pete's playing right now, it's him. And, you know, when you look at it, a lot of those shots are from the outside. Obviously, in the last couple of games, Peterborough's done a better job getting more towards the inside. But I've questioned the Vjctoria defensive coach, Hart Webster, a couple times on, you know, are you happy giving up all these shots? And he keeps saying, you know what, we're giving them the outside shots and we're okay with that. But as Walt said on the broadcast night, you live by the outside shot, you can die by the outside shot. And that happened in Game 2 where Evie scored those 3 straight. It happened last night in Game 3 where they just kind of were able to pick the Vjctoria defense apart a little bit. But I think this Vjctoria team's right there. But Pete Dubenski has been a shining star ever since the WLA playoffs started. And I can't believe truly how many shots Peterborough really is getting off. They've just over probably now 60 shots a game in the 3 that they've played, and I don't see them slowing any down. But Dubinsky has been absolutely phenomenal, and it's only a matter of time until some National Lacrosse League GM rings him up and gives him a chance.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about as we speak with Teddy Jenner here, and it comes down to simple math, which I know Evan will love here, Teddy, that you fire enough shots, sooner or later balls are going to start to go in, and we were talking about Pete, like we're just kind of waiting for the bottom to drop out on him, but he just hasn't let it happen. It's been pretty impressive to watch. With that being said, going into Game 4 here tonight, like it's must win here for the Shamrocks, is it not?
Yeah, I believe it is. This is a 2 Townsend and Peterborough group to go down 3-1. You know, Vjctoria is an incredibly young team, and they're not using that as an excuse, but you know, they don't have a lot of guys who have Mann Cup experience and played on this kind of a stage. And Peterborough is an incredibly veteran team, and it starts with their coaching staff. It goes all the way through their leadership group. and all the way down. Mike Poulin's never been in a Mann Cup, but he's been in NLL championship games. He's been on big stages. So Vjctoria knows what they have to do. They're not out of this by any means. They just need to find a way to stay out of the penalty box. They need a way to find 60 minutes, and they just need to continue getting to the front of the net. And the big thing that Peterborough has adjusted to is Vjctoria's speed. They were caught off guard by it in game one, and Vjctoria really ran them out of the barn in that first game. They've adjusted. They're getting guys back. They're getting guys off the floor, which is allowing the D to get out and slow down that Vjctoria transition game. And we haven't really seen it in the past two. So must win, absolutely. Maybe a little bit of desperation early on for Vjctoria. If they get down a few, we might see them gripping the sticks a little bit. But Bob Hayes has a very confident group and a group that loves to play this game, and they don't want to see this season end too soon.
And like you said before, a contrast between the two teams. You've got Peterborough with a whole bunch of veterans. Heck, they're benching guys or healthy scratches with guys that would be NLL superstars. You got a Vjctoria team, and especially because of a couple of injuries like the Dutch and like the King, a lot of youngsters in this lineup, a lot of NLL prospects in this lineup. Which of these guys have impressed you the most?
Right out of the gate, Tyson Gibson has been phenomenal, and he's been that way for a couple of years with Vjctoria, and obviously this year he's in the NLL Draft, so he wants to make sure everybody sees who he is. I believe he's leading Vjctoria in Mann Cup scoring. He was as of last night, but he just is a true power forward. He gets to the front of the net. He's great with the ball. He's great off the ball, and I know a lot of NLL teams really like his game, but when you talk about players on this club, you got to start with Pete Dubenski, but then you got to look at Graham Hossack, and that guy is just, I haven't really seen a lot of him up close and personal in the National Lacrosse League, but getting to see him in Vjctoria all summer long, it's just been an absolute clinic to watch how effortless he makes it. And the confidence that he's playing right now, being able to go up the floor, take some of those shots.
Threw a backhand last night, Ted.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And that, again, that's just how much confidence that he is playing with. And I mentioned it on the broadcast last night. You look at the Peterborough power play, you got Vitarelli, Catoni, Small if he's in, Evans, Buchanan, Matthews, and
oh,
Curry,
yeah, that guy.
right? Oh, that guy, right? So that's the Peterborough top 6 or 7 guys. Then you go to Vjctoria, and you've got Sundown, Wardle, Robinson, Bushi, Gibson, Marshall, King. Guys who are going to be names in the National Lacrosse League. Obviously, Wardle, Robinson are there already, but they haven't become superstars or elite players. But that's just one of the big differences. Vjctoria has talent. They're just a little bit inexperienced and not quite at the level of Peterborough's talent. Yeah. But you have to give them all the credit in the world for sticking with Peterborough. This series could be 2-1 Vjctoria. It could be 3-0 for either team, just the way this series has gone. It's been a phenomenal Mann Cup so far.
Absolutely. As we speak with Teddy Jenner here on Lacrosse Classified, I think if you can get a little bit of production out of Marshall King, Sonny, you're going to put yourself.
Sundown's been real quiet.
Yeah, I think he's playing pretty banged up. I made the comment on Twitter last night that just watching the game, and I'm not going to start calling out names, but you can see guys on both sides of the ball, on both sides of the rosters, that there's some guys that are playing really, really banged up in this series.
Banged up and tired. As phenomenal as an athlete as Graham Hossack is, on that goal that Kyle Buchanan scored, the 9th goal, Hoss was up on the floor kind of in a transition opportunity, trying to make something happen. And then he has to chase Buchanan back. And after Buchanan passed the first one, Hossack kind of let up.
Yeah.
And you could see in the replay that he was just tired. He was thinking, should I get off? Should I go all the way back? And that just let Bucky go right down the pipe uncontested and score that, what ended up being the game winner. But
I didn't think the Cyborg could get tired, but he's human.
No, but he is. And as you look at this Mann Cup as it goes on, for a lot of those NLL guys, they've been playing since November of last year. And by the time you get to now, damn rights, you're going to be banged up. You're going to be tired. You're going to be sore. Your brain's going to be tired. And it's just a matter of finding that mental will to dig through and continue to fight and push yourselves for that all the way to that final whistle. And unfortunately for Vjctoria, there's just been a couple occasions where they've shut the mind off, and it's cost them. And the biggest example was that 3-goal run by Evie in Game 2.
Yeah, well, they better suck it up, some of those guys, because they have another little tournament to play coming up in about a week from now. And I think, like, when they pull the maple leaf over their head, that probably is going to cure a lot of their ailments. But it's crazy to think guys like Priolo and Matthews and Hossack are going to go literally straight from the Mann Cup to Langley to play in the World Championships. And you talk about playing a lot of lacrosse and being fatigued mentally, physically. These are why these guys are the elite of the elite.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's probably nothing these guys would rather be doing than playing 9, 10 months, 11 months straight of lacrosse. It's just how much these guys love the game. It's how passionate they are for it. But, man, does it take a toll on the body. And it's just a testament to how physically fit these guys are, mentally strong they are, that they just can keep on going, and the batteries never really seem run out of gas.
Looking ahead to the NLL Draft, a year where we don't have a certain number one, not like last year, Audie Stotts was clearly the number one pick. New York, we thought, was going after Andrew Q. They need a lefty forward. But now we're hearing Tyson Bomberry, maybe Ryland Reese is just that good that they can't pass up on him. What do you think Reggie Thorpe's going to do with number one?
That's a great question, and I don't think he can go wrong with Reese or taking Andrew Q. I know Tyson Bomberry is kind of being underrated a little bit in this draft, especially when you look at Stamper's top 50. I think he was maybe down in the 12 or 15, somewhere around there, I think, if I can remember. But Bomberry's a very interesting player because he's just a natural, physically fit defender and plays a rugged game. I think going with Andrew Q, a left-hander, is a natural fit for Reggie Thorpe and the Riptide. They don't have too many lefties after the expansion draft. I think he's a guy they need, but talking to some guys, Q doesn't really have that grit in his game quite yet. He's a great outside shooter. He's a big body. He's an incredible lacrosse talent and shoot the lights out. Some people would like to find a little more sandpaper to his game, get to some dirty areas. I think Tyson Gibson might be the most NLL ready of the forwards. And then Ryland Reese, that kid's going to be a talent. Yes, he's had some injury problems over the years, but what young kids don't with the amount of lacrosse they're playing these days. So it's going to be interesting to see those top 3 picks and how they play out. I think the consensus top 3 is Q, Reese, and Gibson, but if Bomberry can slide in, that shakes the whole thing up. Obviously, we were all kind of holding our breath to see if Dahoka would declare. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, so we'll have to wait at least 1 or 2 more years before that to happen. So once those top 3 picks go down and we get to 4 and Derek Keenan, I think we'll see a lot of D guys get taken.
Yeah, I think you're probably spot on there, Teddy Jenner. One more here for you before we let you go. We talked about the players that'll be at the draft. We know you're going to be there along with Jordan Dempster, Devin Caney. Tabitha is going to be there as well at Xfinity Live in Philadelphia. You can watch the broadcast on BR Live. What can the fans expect here, Teddy, going into this broadcast? What kind of things are you going to be rolling out back there in Philly?
Yeah, we're going to have a pre-draft show for, 15, 20 minutes before the draft starts. We'll get some comparisons. We'll look at some of the expansion teams and where they sit and their needs. Obviously, Jordan and Tabitha will be in the green room talking to players and coaches as they sit and wait to see where they get picked. And, I know the people at Xfinity Live and our producers in Philadelphia are doing an incredible job just trying to make this a little more flashy, a little more entertained value. So it's not just, me and Stamp and Devin sitting on camera while you guys look at our ugly mugs and wait for the next pick to happen. So we're trying to bring some more things, trying to bring it some more entertainment. And like I said, I know Jordan and Tabitha will be in the green room talking to guys as they sit and wait. But, you've done drafts before, Jumbo.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little draining as you get on to their later rounds. And sometimes you have to do a lot more information searching for some of the names that get picked. But, I think it's going to be a great time, and I know the National Lacrosse League is excited. And Joe Feld, the director of broadcast for the National Lacrosse League, has done a great job bringing in some real talented producers and broadcasting team to make this the best draft we've had. So I'm excited for it. Like you guys said, no real clear-cut number one, so it'll be interesting to see how things play out when we come to Tuesday.
Well, listen, you better have your suit game on point. I saw Stamper's got a new hairstyle working, so you better be looking sharp there beside the crew. You know Devin's going to be on point.
Well, I'm going to wear something exquisite. Exquisite.
Okay. You heard it here first. Watch for the wardrobe of one Teddy Jenner coming up. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday? What do we got?
Tuesday. I fly out. If Mann Cup goes 7, I fly out on the Red Eye Sunday night to Philadelphia, and the draft goes on Tuesday.
There it is. That was Teddy Jenner, voice of the Mammoth, the Shamrocks, the Mann Cup. He'll also be a part of the NLL Draft broadcast coming up next Tuesday from Philadelphia. Keep up the good work, friend. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too, my friend. That was Teddy Jenner. He's a busy man these days, Evan.
Busy, yeah, and busy even with his dog. He watches social media.
We didn't even bring up Bear. We didn't bring up Bear.
But it's going to be an interesting draft, like he said, because we don't know what's going to happen. Got an idea what might happen.
I like that, though, Evan. I like the fact that there's not a clear-cut number one, and then you really don't know how the dominoes are going to fall after that first pick. I like that going into a draft.
Yeah, and, could something happen where all of a sudden Ryland Reese drops? Well, of course, we'd be celebrating Saskatchewan if he did. I don't think he will, but, they need Tyson Gibson in New England. We know that. I'd be shocked if that wasn't the pick, but there's a lot of variables that could happen here because even 4, 5, 6, 7.
Well, I tell you what, man, don't sleep on Clark Peterson. If I got a chance to take Clark Peterson at 4, I think he's my guy. I know, I don't know. I think he's that good. I don't think I let Clark Peterson slip by at 4 if I'm Derek Keenan. We'll see. But hey, I am not Derek Keenan. He's got a pretty good track record of drafting, and I'll just leave it to him, but that would be my guy.
The only thing I can be sure of is he is going to pick at 4 if he can't move up, but I don't think he will. But he is going to pick at 4. That one's not going to get traded. Will he trade one of the other two? Entirely
9,
possible.
16. Yeah, we'll see. Evan, we got to take a break. We got the man that lives in the van coming up next. Steve Priolo from the Vjctoria Shamrocks Bandits, Team Canada. All next, right here on Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
Pure Vita Labs is proud to bring you the highest quality sports supplements on the market. PVL products are 100% all-natural with no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. And the entire line is also Informed Choice certified. We designed all our products with the athlete in mind. We look forward to being a part of your athletic achievements, helping you push the bar higher, win at the highest levels, and set personal records for years to come.
Hey, this is Paul Day, head coach and general manager of the Philadelphia Wings. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on Lax All-Stars, growing the game one podcast at a time.
Welcome back to Lax Class here on the Lacrosse All-Stars Podcast Network. You heard it there from our friends at Pure Vita Labs. Hashtag flip the switch. You can find them online at pvl.com. The best supplements on the market, all natural, Informed Choice certified products. Find them at pvl.com. You won't be disappointed. As it's Jake Elliott, Evan Schemenauer, and now joined by a member of Team Canada, the Buffalo Bandits, the Vjctoria Shamrocks. The man also lives in a van. It's Steve Priolo on the program. Steve, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, this is great, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, man, and especially doing this on a game day. I was a little worried to try and get you on a game day, but you kind of strike me as a guy that sort of thing doesn't really faze you all that much. Am I on that?
Well, it seems like every day's a game day lately, so right? Not many options, but we're just about an hour out of shoot around here. We're gonna go in and I'm just hanging out in the van making some coffee. So what better thing to do than talk lacrosse?
First 3 games of this series, you're down 2-1, but other than say for a 5-minute lapse at the end of the third period of game 2, the defense has held in pretty good. Dubinsky's been playing amazing. Take us through it. How do you feel about your performance so far?
We feel pretty good. We feel like we're making, some mistakes here and there, but that's just common with all lacrosse, right? It's all about tightening things up. our system seems to be working really well, and that's a big positive going forward. Yeah, we had that lapse, right, which, ultimately cost us the game, and but you can't dwell on things like that, right? That's why you have these long series. So, you're looking around and you're looking at guys being banged up or not banged up, and, evaluating things, and the locker room looks really good and real positive. So, it's going to be a fun series going forward.
Steve, do you kind of think, we obviously know that Peterborough's got a ton of experience on their side of the roster, and Vjctoria pretty new as far as a lot of guys being in their first Mann Cup, but kind of getting those first 2-3 games under their belt surely has to help leading into the rest of the series. Do you feel like those young guys are kind of becoming more comfortable as the series goes along here?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, we invested last year in some young guys that have stuck around, and I think it's paying off quite a bit. Those guys are looking to get drafted to the NLL, right? And that's when, you're always working your hardest when you're trying to get noticed, right? So it's kind of nice to have young guys working hard, and, Peterborough's definitely a talented team, right? But so was Maple Ridge, and, so was Nanaimo before that, and there's only one ball out there, so it's all about having, your system in place and executing.
Pete Dubenski's having the series of his life. He's faced a lot of rubber, 197 shots, first 3 games. Is that the game plan? Is to keep Peterborough to low percentage shots, let Pete do the rest of the work, or what's the strategy there?
Man, Pete is awesome. What'd you say? 197 shots?
Yeah.
197 shots in 3 games, yeah.
Oh, my. Yeah, we were looking at that, and, the one game, I think they had 73 or something like that. The game that went to overtime.
Yeah.
But Pete's a warrior, man. He likes seeing the rubber, and he's one of those guys that's they're going to get shots, right? He understands how talented, Maple Ridge was before them, and now Peterborough is here, and it's all about giving him shots that he likes and that he'll save. And last night we held him to 9, right? And it's to hold that incredible offense to 9 goals is a milestone of its own, but it's not enough to win the game. So it's we all know that Pete's playing incredible, but we got to get it done for him at the other end. So we're getting transition chances. I think I had two chances yesterday in transition, and Graham and Tyler and Burton and everybody, and it's just, we could bury 1 or 2 of those, it would go a long way.
Speaking with Steve Priolo here, the Vjctoria Shamrocks, as we talk a little Mann Cup lacrosse. And Steve, I know you're a righty, and you're not usually over on the right side of the floor checking righties, but a guy that you've played with and played against in Sean Evans, about to step into second place in the all-time Mann Cup scoring list. Just talk about what a challenge this guy is to play against. He's one of those guys that's just always sticking around, right? He's a legend for a reason, right? I have, a ton of respect for a guy that plays the game as hard as he does, and, doesn't miss anything for lacrosse. He's one of those gamers, right? He's one of those guys that are tough to describe, but when the time comes, he just puts the game on his back, and he can take over a game. And he's just this little guy, right? We played with him in Buffalo this year. He's just this little guy that just ends up scoring a bunch of goals, and he sees the floor so well. And he's just an incredible player. So that's something that we need to stay on top of, because you can't let him get hot, right? And
he's that good.
And then he's got the knack to kind of get under your skin and goad you into a few penalties as well.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, but that whole team's full of those guys.
Sure.
We are too.
Yeah.
And it's this series, right? It's this 7-game series, and you get the same rest and you get the same everything. So it's this games within the games, right? And you got to be able to play those. You got to be able to understand what's going on, right? So it's about not being drawn into those things, and he's one of those guys that are great like that. But Shawnee, man, honestly, there's nothing he's a great, I can't say enough good things about him. He's a great player, and he's been playing forever with Peterborough, right? So it's he's just going to be sticking around. I expect to see him for the next 10 years.
That's the crazy part, is that he's up there in the records, and he's still got some real productive years left. As we speak with Steve Priolo here, and talk about the Mann Cup and it being a long series here, Steve. Like you mentioned, it's the same teams facing off against each other. It's the same refs. It's the same barn. It hasn't been an overly particular nasty series yet, but I think it's kind of starting to percolate, and the more times you guys go at each other, that stuff is going to sort of happen. Do you kind of feel like that part of the game is starting to ramp up after 3 games now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it kind of ramped up after game one, at the end of game one,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
it did.
It got pretty nasty out there, and but it's lacrosse, right? It's there's a lot of emotions flowing out there, right? Like it's very it's one of those games where it's very judgmental on what's a penalty and what's not, right? And it's about being able to play within what the refs are letting you get away with, right? And it's nothing against the refs or Peterborough or us or anything. It's just being able to understand the game, understand the flow of it, right? And what can you get away with and what you can't. Right now, you can't get away with off-ball slashes, and you can get away with on-ball slashes. So, you work as hard as you can to play within those rules. And I like those rules because off-ball slashes are just there to hurt people.
Right.
But you should be able to clamp off-ball, right? So it's all about judging how hard can you clamp with a guy like Corey Small going to the net for a quick stick. You got to be able to clamp him, but you can't get an off-ball slash on him. So it's just playing those games within the games. And, over 7 games, obviously times get heated. That's why the penalty minutes are up so high. I think there's been I can't remember the penalties, but we must have had 10 last night. Like, it feels like we're in the box the whole time. So, finding ways to stay out of it.
Now, I have to ask about the van. This is something
I wanted to ask about the van. I wanted to ask about that.
But, I mean, this is very unique, where you could just be up in an apartment in Vjctoria and relax for the summer. You bring this, I believe it's a surplus police van out, make it your home. The beach or somewhere down by the rivers, you're home for the night, and you and your wife literally live this adventurous life out on Vancouver Island. How did this inspiration come about?
This all started back in 2014 when I really had this dream of going down to Utah and exploring the Red Rock down there, and it's just desert forever, and there's not really hotels around, so we were like, well, we'll just car camp or whatever, right? So we rented a van down there and we slept in it, and we were like, oh, this kind of makes sense. Like, you want to do adventurous stuff. You want to go, there's things you want to see and places you want to be, but you always have to go there every day, right? So for me, living at the beach, I wake up in the morning and I step out my doors and I'm at the beach. I get that breath of fresh air. I make my coffee and I just enjoy the world for a little bit before I, start focusing on other things. And, the van's just been a huge part of that, right? It allows you to do the things that you're interested in. And right now, I don't think it's moved out of the parking lot of the Q Center. I've been here for 3 days just because, I will go play lacrosse at night, wake up in the morning, have shoot around, take my nap in the van, and it's like, why go anywhere else?
And they just leave you alone there at the Q Center, right? Like they that's Steve Priolo's van. Just leave him alone. Like that's where he lives.
Unless they want to talk lacrosse and they come bang on the door.
Well, now have you made arrangements? I can probably help you out with this if you need it. But have you made arrangements at the Langley Event Center? You got a parking spot picked out there. I know every year they have the basketball high school provincials there, and they have a couple of big trailers that pull in. They got the hookups and I don't know what you need, man, but if you need me to kind of carve out a spot for you at the LEC for Worlds, you let me know.
I'm just going to run an extension cord to one of those RVs so I can get some power in this thing.
There you go. So now, describe this thing for the people that don't quite understand what's happening inside this van. Like, you fully converted the inside of this to make it like your domicile.
Yeah. It's everything I need, but I made sure I kept it really simple so nothing can, break on me, right? So it's just, I have my bed, and I made, a cool frame. I have it up pretty high so I can have a ton of storage underneath, right? I have all my rock climbing gear and surfing stuff and things like that under there. And I sleep on top. I got my dishes, my water, and a little cooler thing if I, am I gonna have things that need to stay fresh. Sure. But it's very simple. I keep it really simple, and I just have a little inverter for any sort of power that I need. So it's honestly. It's just really nice. It's comfy. I'm in it right now. It's amazing.
That sounds awesome, man. I know you're obviously focused on the Mann Cup right now, but we do want to get a little Team Canada talk in there. It's going to be played in Langley in just over a week from now, and I know I'm so fired up about this, and I'm sure you are too. How difficult is it to keep your eye on the prize right now in the Mann Cup and not even think about the Worlds, but that's got to be in the back of your mind there somewhere?
Oh man, it's funny you talk about that stuff because it's you don't even want to think past the shift in lacrosse, right? You want to think shift to shift, but it's it's 7 games in 9 days for the Mann Cup, and then you go straight into Worlds, and it's okay, I need to be prepared for Worlds as well. So you need to I'm selling out here, right? And you got bumps and bruises and things, and you're just trying to like nip them in the bud, because once this is over, I got to go straight to Team Canada, and that's something you wait for 4 years to get back on that.
Yeah.
You probably
or your entire life, one of the two.
Yeah, exactly. I waited my entire life for 2015, and now I've waited 4 years.
Yeah,
and you never know. Right? I'm 30 years old, like 34. Who the heck's going to take a 34-year-old in for Team Canada next year? So it could be the last time I do it for the next time, right? So it's like you have to cherish every moment you get in the sport.
And you're perhaps facing your biggest challenge ever at the Worlds with an Iroquois lineup at forward that, like, it's just an absolute superstar lineup. How do you plan to shut these guys down?
Oh man, like it's going to be so much fun. They're stacked, right? They're like, that ball, whoever has it is going to be dangerous. So it's the same thing that we face with Maple Ridge and with Peterborough, though. It's the same thing in lacrosse. Like, everybody's dangerous, but there's only one ball. So you got to be aware of off-ball picks, got to be aware of slips and different things like that. And, don't let the ball get in your net, right? Like, it's like, it's literally that simple. It's like, what am I going to have to do to keep this ball out of my net? And they're talented, but every team's going to be talented. You just got to take advantage of it.
No doubt about it, Steve. Really appreciate your time here, especially on a game day. We'll let you get back to coffee in the van there. Best of luck with the rest of the Mann Cup, and look forward to seeing you in Langley for the World Championships, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll come visit me in the parking spot.
You bet I will. You bet I will. All right, that was Steve Priolo of Team Canada, the Buffalo Bandits, and, of course, the Vjctoria Shamrocks, who are battling the Lakers right now in the Mann Cup. Game number 4 goes tonight. Game 5 tomorrow. We'll see how it all shakes down. One more break to come here on Lax Class, and on the other side, it's Stampede Tack. Who you got? And news and notes coming up next here on Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
Associated Labels and Packaging is in the business of creating first impressions. They'll help you reflect your company values accurately by offering solutions that fit your product needs. With the latest in printing technology and over 35 years of experience, Associated Labels and Packaging is the perfect fit for your company to take your labels and packaging to the next level.
Hey, this is Chris Bouchy from the Halifax Thunderbirds. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on Lax All-Stars, growing the game one podcast at a time.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified, courtesy of our friends at Associated Labels and Packaging. So the big boss, Sean Ashworth, had his boy at the gym the other day. Carter was there, got a little selfie with Carter, sent that off to Sean at Associated Labels and Packaging, where they create first impressions. You need a label, you need a package. Associated Labels and Packaging are the best in the business. Find them at associated-labels.com or their social media at Associated LP. Evan, it's time for Who You Got. And looky here. Oh, before we get into Who You Got, I want to just put this out there again, because I'm getting a lot of questions and people going, 2 T's and Who You Got. Just so everybody knows, we've distinguished ourselves with Who You Got, putting 2 T's on the end of got. So we kind of distinguish ourselves from all the other people that like to use the hashtag Who You Got. And why we decided to go with 2 T's in got? Well, because everybody likes to spell my last name, Elliott, with 1 T, which I know it shouldn't, but absolutely drives me nuts. I shouldn't even be telling people this, because they're just going to do it more.
Or they spell it with 1 L, and that even drives you worse.
So 2 T's in Elliott, 2 T's in got, and that's how we came up with the hashtag Who You Got with 2 T's, and that's why we came up with it, just to distinguish ourselves from the competition a little bit, and because my name has 2 T's in it, and that's just a friendly little reminder on how to spell Elliott properly. Neil Harushka is the big winner from last week, Evan, with that Peterborough win in game number 2. Nips out Ryder Bremner for the big cowboy hat from Stampede Tack and Western Wear. A good friend of yours and mine wins the hat.
Yeah, and he's got a son that is up and coming. You will expect him in the NLL Draft in a few years.
Yes, indeed. Lane Harushka, very good goaltender, and won't be long before we see his name coming across our screen as well. So, Evan, last week, I know you know this, but I went 3-2. You went 2-3. So over the last 2 weeks, I've made up 2 games. We are now tied in the standings at 27-23. How about that?
Well, I'm still waiting to hear from Kevin what the prize or the punishment is.
Yeah, he's working on it. Speaking of Kevin Michael Winkler there at Stampede Tack in Western Wear, sent me a couple of pics yesterday. He's got the Wrangler T-shirts done up, Evan. I know you saw these things.
Mm-hmm. I'll be wearing them at the Worlds, guaranteed.
And I think we're going to have a few to give away during the Worlds as well. We need to figure out a way to do that, but I think there's, a better part of a handful. I know the boys in the chat group all want one as well. I think they might have to earn it, though, man. Like, it's not going to just give these things away for nothing. So we'll figure that out, but the shirts are looking beautiful. Of course, the cowboy hats are top-notch, but with me doing better than you the last couple of weeks,
I get to host.
We're now tied in the standings, and you get to host Stampede Tack. Who you got? So take it away.
And keep in mind, if you want to play along, the contest is open this week. It's open till 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Tuesday. So you want to pick your games, get them in, but get them in early because the tie breaks whoever picked theirs first.
That's today.
So get them in early.
That's today. So what we've been doing is putting the picks up early before we record the show to give people a couple extra days to get their picks in. Evan's got the spreadsheet going now, so everything's copacetic. He won't get anything confused. He's got it all time-stamped, color-coded, all that sort of stuff. The spreadsheet is beautiful. And that's what you got to do. So if you're listening right now...
was supposed to get made this week because we had so many entries last week.
I know.
It took the spreadsheet to figure out who the winner was.
But the deal is, if you win, so you better be listening here, Neil, you are required... Gary Grube, you as well. Steve Bermel, you as well. You're all required to take a picture in your brand new cowboy hat from Stampede Tack and post that up on social media because I think that's really... when the program or the contest took off, Evan, is when we started posting up the pictures of the hat that you can win. People are like, that's a nice hat. I want to win that. And now it's taken off like wildfire.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Stampede Tack for doing all this for us. And I know they're very happy, too, with the results they're getting.
Sure.
So let's get into it.
Okay, let's get into it, Evan.
Let's get into it. Here we go. Now, this is the difficulty this week. We got 5 games. 2 of them might not happen, but we're going to pick them anyways. And if they don't happen, they don't count. They happen. Here we go.
Pretty simple. And then just before we get going here, Evan, so we were thinking about actually taking this week off, but if we can get through this week, and let's hope Vjctoria can at least push this thing to 6, potentially 7, so we get the full slate in. But if we don't, you know what else I was thinking about doing is doing a draft who you got, like our top 5. If you get the closest to the top 5 picks in the draft, you know what I'm saying here? But we're not going to do that. That was just an idea I had. But if we get through this week, then next week, the World Championships begin on Thursday, and we have another full week of games before we wrap things up on who you got. So it could be just 3 games this week. It could be 5. Either way, we're going to do it. Go ahead.
Tonight, Game 4. Peterborough leading the series 2-1. Mann Cup. Lakers, Shamrocks. Who you got?
Who you got?
Yeah, right.
It was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. Man, last week I said that Vjctoria was going to win Game 1, which they did. And then I said Peterborough is probably going to win 4 straight. They've won 2 straight now. But after being there in person, watching Game 2 live and watching Game 3 last night, I might have to change things here a little bit, Evan, because I don't think Vjctoria is all that far off than I thought they were going to be. Pete Dubenski is clearly not fazed by playing in the Mann Cup, and he's given his Shamrocks a chance to win every game. So I think this is really do or die here for the Shamrocks tonight. If they go down 3-1, this thing is over. I still think Peterborough is going to win this series. I know Shamrocks aren't going to like hearing that. Shamrock fans aren't going to like hearing that. But tonight, I'm going to take the Shamrocks Taking the Shamrocks tonight.
I've got a couple concerns about the Shamrocks. So my one concern with the Lakers is a few injuries, especially with Mark Matthews. And, of course, the one advantage I thought the Lakers were going to have in this series with having Poulin and Vince there to offset games likely isn't going to happen because Beatty still hasn't arrived.
I told you he might not be there.
But here's my two concerns about the Shamrocks. Number one, Pete Dubinsky's faced a lot of rubber. At some stage, that's going to take its toll. The other thing is, I don't think the Lakers have played their best game yet. I really don't. So that's why I'm taking the Lakers tonight to go up 3-1.
Okay.
So,
now
we got Game 5, which we know we're going to have one way or the other, on Wednesday night. Lakers Shamrocks, who you got?
I am going to take the Peterborough Lakers in Game 5 for all the reasons I just listed beforehand, Evan. I think the series gets tied up at 2 tonight, and then I think Peterborough wins it. Game 5, Game 6. I'm taking the Lakers in Game number 5.
Taking the Lakers as well. I just think they're the better team. I think long-term, this veteran leadership is going to play out. Now, of course, in my picks, this series is over in 5, but we're going to pick 6 and 7 anyways. And there's a few guys that have actually submitted their picks this week, which were gutsy.
Yeah, some guys didn't even pick Game 7. They're like, no, it's over in 6. I'm not even going to pick Game 7.
Right. So, but anyways, Game 6 on Friday night. They'll take Thursday off. Who you got?
Like I said, I'm taking Peterborough because I think they win this series in 6.
I'm taking the Lakers, too, just because in the event they don't win one of the next 2 games, I still think they're the better team.
Can probably say the same for Game 7 then? Can we just...
Game 7? Yeah, I think we're both on the Lakers, correct?
Yes, we are. So let's just do that. Let's do that, which leaves one game left.
One game left, and it is the PLL semifinal. The Redwoods, who maybe caught a lucky break with Tom Schreiber getting injured at the end of the first quarter, up against the Chaos, who didn't show up for the last quarter of the game.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Aren't the Redwoods in the final now, and it's the Chaos and the Whip Snakes playing?
No, the Whip Snakes are in the final.
Oh, okay.
Because they beat the Chaos in the 1-2. It is the Redwoods playing the Chaos this weekend. Who you got?
Well, that just threw me right off. And by the way, the only 2 games I got wrong last week were the 2 PLL games, so go figure that. I said it right from the get-go. The Chaos are my PLL team from the start of the season right to the finish. I'm not deterring away from them now, Evan. Give me the Chaos.
Give me the Chaos, too. Yeah, they had a bad performance. But if there's any coach that could get their heads back into a game, it's Andy Towers. I mean, like we said before, he makes you want to try and run through a brick wall. He can get you that hyped up. Give me the Chaos.
Okay, so just to recap quickly here, Game 4 tonight, I got the Shamrocks, you got the Lakers, and then we're taking Peterborough the rest of the way, no matter how long the series goes. And we both have the Chaos. So just one differentiating pick. Once again, I've made up 2 games in the last 2 weeks. I can take the lead here tonight in who you got with 2 T's. Who you got with 2 T's. Which gets us into our news and notes to wrap up the podcast here, Evan, as we always do on Lax Class. I got to get a quick shout-out in right off the top to my man, Stephen Neufeld, down there in Coquitlam at Lacrosse Experts. I was really hoping to get a new head dyed up for the World Championships in a Team Canada theme, just as a bit of a keepsake. Things didn't work out. Long story short, the boys at Lacrosse Expert went down. They hooked me up with a new stick. I went with a nice little Adnac color scheme, gold mesh, purple strings, white head. Looks good, and if you need any lacrosse gear, you're in the Lower Mainland, go check out my friends at Lacrosse Experts. They will hook you up just like they did for me. And now, Evan, I mentioned Vjctoria winning Game 1. I got this stat, and I didn't know this before I picked Vjctoria to win Game 1, but I wish I would have because, well, maybe you wish you would have because I think you probably would have taken him too. Check this out. John Harnett sending me this stat after Game 1. since 2007. Evan. So 07, 09, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19. Mann Cup has been played in the West on all those odd years. They've won game 1 every year. Crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Johnny Harden, where was this information?
He's probably the one that told you to get on Puerto Rico there a couple of weeks ago as well.
No, he didn't.
Okay. So anyways, I thought that was a really cool stat. 7 years in a row that the Mann Cup has been played in the West. The Western team has won game 1. I didn't know that before I picked him, but just putting that out there. It was kind of a cool stat. World Indoor Lacrosse Championships. We talked a lot about it, Evan. It gets going. I can't believe it, man. Next Thursday. When are you coming out, by the way?
Saturday morning.
Okay. I'll make sure the maid vacuums before you get here. Webcasting, I believe, is going to take place on TFSE TV, right in the same spot that you watch the Minto Cup at. I believe it'll be a pay-per-view, and almost every single game I'm going to be doing games over in the field house.
That's right.
I got my schedule done. I got some real cool games. I'm doing 2, sometimes 3 a day. I think I got like 22 games coming up in 10 days. Some really intriguing matchups. Like I think I got the Czechs against the Slovaks. I got Sweden against Australia. I got some Team Canada games in there as well. Iroquois, Israel, England, all sorts of different teams. When they announced this 4 years ago, I thought to myself, like I was so pumped, but then I thought, man, like 4 years, that's going to be forever before it gets. And here we are 9 days away. It's nuts.
Yeah. And for those that have not watched the Worlds before, take the time to watch some of these developing nations. They're actually very, very interesting to watch. Now, you're going to see a talent level that is far inferior to what you're probably used to watching at a pro level. Given that. These are very colorful teams. They know they're not going to win the world title, but they are there to be proud, represent their country, get some experience. Fabulous time. And for those that may not have the time to watch that many games, Sunday night, Canada, Iroquois, that is the game to watch.
Yeah, that's the one game I didn't get on my schedule. I'm trying to finagle a little tradesies with somebody on that. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I was like, when I got my schedule, I was like, oh, please, 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 please. And that was the one game I didn't get. But hopefully that's the rematch in the final, and hopefully I do get that one and get a chance to call Canada against Iroquois because I've been waiting for that one for a long time. NLL Draft, we talked a lot about, Evan. I gave you the Goss update last week. She's in Queen's Park Rehab Center doing better and better each day. Keep it going, Emily. We continue to give you positive thoughts and keep working. We know you're going to get there. NLL schedule, Evan, is about to drop. The Saskatchewan Rush Twitter account leaking that out here on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how this works. They did announce on Monday as to how the schedule is going to work. So you got your 3 new divisions. You got your West Division, which stays the same with Vancouver, San Diego, Colorado, Calgary, Saskatchewan. That doesn't change. You got 2 new divisions. On the other side, you got your North Division, Buffalo, Toronto, Rochester, Halifax. You got your East Division with New York, New England, Philadelphia, Georgia. Now, the way that this is going to work for playoffs is that there's going to be 8 teams in. Top 2 in each division are going to the playoffs, as well as 2 wild cards. And so that's what we expected to happen. And the way the schedule is going to work out is for the teams in the East and the North, they're going to play everybody once, but everybody in their division 3 times. If you're in the West Division, you're playing everybody once. 2 teams in your division, you're playing twice. 2 teams, you're playing 3 times. End of the day, big advantage to the Georgia Swarm.
Yeah.
They got 2 expansion teams in their division. They should cruise to win this division. And not only that, but because they're playing 3 times against all those teams in their division, I think they're the favorite to be the number 1 seed, and especially if there's a flyer from out west that's got to come play them in the opening round, massive advantage.
Yeah, so just to be clear here, the top 3 divisional winners get the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Then the 3 second-place finishers in those divisions will get the 4, 5, and 6 seeds. The 2 wildcard teams will get 7 and 8. So it's ranked 1 through 8, and that's how the playoff matchups will go. The opening rounds are still single-game eliminations, the 2 opening rounds, and then it's a best-of-3 in the final. So that's the new divisions. That's the new schedule that should drop. I believe it's going to come out tomorrow or the next day, and we'll get to digest that. We'll break it all down next week, of course. And I went on Lacrosse Sports Network yesterday as well, Evan, and dropped a bit of a nugget on my man Tom Eschen as well, that you can expect Dallas to be named as the next expansion team for the National Lacrosse League. Talked to a number of people about this. I believe it to be true. I don't know when they're going to announce it. I'm not particularly sure on the ownership group. I think it might be the Dallas Stars. But I'm expecting Dallas to be the next franchise, the 14th team to be named to the National Lacrosse League.
Yeah, you and I are hearing the same information on that. And we expect them to be in the league for the 2021 season. Nothing's signed off yet. Nothing's final. We'll have to wait for the league. I don't think they're going to announce it anytime soon because they like to space out announcements. They're going to wait till sometime after the draft to even talk about this. But, a market that's been begging for a team, there's been a strong group there trying to push for this for some time. And the NLL needed a team out west, so they now finally got another team out west to help balance out, because right now it's 8 teams in the east and 5 in the west, so it helps balance it out a little better. Anyways.
Yeah, and they may rejig the divisions at that point, maybe go to 4 divisions at that point. We'll see how it all plays out. Long way to go, but that's what I'm hearing, that's what you're hearing, and where there's some smoke, there's certainly some fire. So we'll wait on that one, but that's what we know. And I think that's it, Evan. I think we got it all in on another episode 44 of Lacrosse Classified. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us along on social media. You can find Evan at Shamrocks. You can find me at PXP, the number 4 Sports. The show is at Lax Class on Twitter, at Lacrosse Classified on Instagram. We got a Facebook page as well. And, of course, you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you find your podcast. Every platform, Lacrosse Classified is there. Just hit that subscribe button, and you're good to go. Thanks to Teddy Jenner and Steve Priolo for coming by and having a chat on the podcast. And, of course, to our wonderful sponsors in Associated Labels and Packaging, Pure Vital Labs and Stampede Tack and Western Wear for sponsoring the show. Make sure you support our sponsors. That's it, Evan. For Evan Sheminar, I've been Jake Elliott, and for the fastest game on 2 feet, and for the creator, enjoy the games, everybody.